Mario J from Tough Love. Welcome to YouTube Conversations.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. Okay, so let's get into it. So, why did you name your channel Tough Love?
Because I'm from Wakanda. Nah, I named it Tough Love, man, because a lot of times when you hear tough love, you always think about, well, some people always think about, their grandma, their grandfather, someone that's always gonna keep it real, regardless of who feelings they hurt. They always gonna tell you the realness. And I feel like, my aspect is just being that other side of the common sense, the person that says, hey, you know what, let's look at this in a different way, let's give a different perspective to the situation. And I feel like tough love is a big example of what I provide, a different perspective. I listen to comprehend and understand, just not to give feedback. I want to really have the difficult conversation. So to me, tough love is something that's needed in everyday life.
No, absolutely. Now, speaking of that, speaking of grandparents, right, and elderly, how do you feel in the next few decades, our elderly, right, people we're supposed to go to for wisdom and advice, tough love, right,
Yeah.
is going to be the Cardi B's and the Instagram thoughts. Isn't that serious? It's crazy when you think of it, right? Those are going to be the older.
Yeah. Yeah.
Things going to be.
I don't know. And
Sad.
listen, I don't know why you give me this DJ Vlad feel, bro. Like I feel like this is a DJ Vlad interview. Bro. But listen, I believe what you're saying. It's interesting that a lot of the people that we feel that are kind of off-centered celebrities, they kind of the stage right now, and they're wild in reference to just doing a bunch of crazy things, saying a bunch of crazy things. They're gonna be the grandparents one day, and they're going to be able to say, "Hey, I've been there and I've done that." I think that you can learn something from everybody. And I think that our trials and tribulations is really what makes us and defines us. So, will I be able to learn something from Cardi B, or will my daughters be able to learn something from Cardi B? I think so. I think her hustle, to be honest with you, her hustle is phenomenal. Um, I think that a lot of these celebrities, how they got to their positions is phenomenal. But is there a lot of bad habits? Yeah, there's a lot of bad habits. But I think they will also they will be the OGs at some point in time, giving out advice, saying I've been there, done that. So
Absolutely. So now, why did you become a content creator? Because you do pour a lot of information, a lot of time that's put into your channel, right? You upload pretty often, and you're very vocal, and you give a lot of advice and so forth. But why did you become a content creator?
um, several reasons. Several reasons. When I was growing up, I'm actually from originally from the Bronx. And I ended up going into foster homes, juvenile detention centers, you know what I'm saying? And I was kind of in and out of trouble. And I ended up joining the military, and I did 20 years in the military. So in the military, I've gotten the opportunity to meet a lot of different people from all different races, nationalities, and creeds. And I've always been a leader, whether on the streets or whether, you know what I'm saying, in the military. And I've always felt like my voice really tipped the scale that said, hey, I'm at a point where I'm giving up. I'm at a point where I need guidance. I'm at a point where I really don't have, my left and right margins together. So to me, uh, being a YouTube creator is just an extension of who I am in reference to giving guidance, listening, and just having a conversation. So it tends to work out for me.
Yep. Well, thank you for your service, right?
Thanks, I appreciate
It's
it.
commendable, right, for you to do that for 20 years. It's a long time. Um, so let's take a step back, right? So you grew up in the Bronx, right?
Yeah.
If you could share, because my mom and so forth, and a lot of people grew up in foster care that I know,
Hmm.
and there's horror stories. Did you go through some of those?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like
We
my mom was overly medicated. Even they was testing the birth control abortions, and for kids that weren't even pregnant. So there's a lot of experiments done in the foster care. That's when. But what about you?
So I actually, when I entered foster care, I actually wasn't in New York. I actually got shipped down south. It was kind of bouncing from like group homes to foster care or whatever. But I've seen some things, you know what I'm saying? I've seen some things in reference to molestation. I've seen some things where, the parents were only into the foster care system for the money. So they would take the money and like let you fend for yourself. Hell, if they were there in the house, some of them only came back when the actual the supervisor used to come and check and make sure, you know what I'm saying, they was doing a checkup. So I've definitely seen a lot of things in foster care. I think my last foster home where I entered the military probably was the most interesting. The reason being because it was like 7 kids in the house. So I was definitely in a rush to get up out of that.
Yeah.
But because she actually opened her home to a lot of different kids of different nationalities, and I just thought that for someone to be a single parent, to do that, I thought, I always today I think that's phenomenal. I think that's phenomenal. So it really opened my eyes to the family aspect of and people actually having a good heart, because you don't see that a lot. You know what I'm saying? You don't see people having a good heart. So to me, to be a part of that, I thought it was amazing.
Do you speak to your actual parents?
My actual parents are deceased. So I
Oh,
actually, when
okay.
I entered the military, um, now about 22 years ago, my father ended up dying. So I never met my father. So my sister, she's real big on family and stuff. So she did this whole DNA test or whatever case to be. So I ended up talking to my great grandmother. So he was the only child, and he actually passed away. So, and then my mother, she died. Um, I want to say about 12 years ago. So yeah,
Okay. Well, sorry to hear about that. So I would.
yeah.
My next question was gonna be, did you grow up poor, middle class, or rich? But I'm assuming it's gonna be poor,
Rich,
right?
rich. I was in the money, bro. Nah, yeah, yeah. I was probably I had what I needed, but it wasn't the best of what I could have had.
Okay. So besides not having your parents, what was the biggest struggle growing up? Which that's probably one of the biggest, right?
Um, I think for me, so how I entered foster care will always be, the highlight of my life once I, think about it. I was actually at home, and my grandmother, she was out at her beauty salon. She had my sister with her, um, and my brother, he was there with me at the house. He was younger. And so I got a knock at the door. We were living in the projects, got a knock at the door, and it was the social worker and like two sheriffs. And they was like, "Hey, are you Mario?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm Mario." And he's like, "You need to come with us." And I was like, "Bullshit, I come with you. I'm a kid. Like, wait a minute, hold on." You know what I'm saying? So that's how I got introduced to like the group homes and foster care. Like my grandmother wasn't even there. Like they came and picked me up, um, and kind of scooped me up. So I always picture like being in those movies where you see somebody looking out the back window, looking driving away from something. Like every time I see a scene like that, I'd be like, "Oh my god, PTSD! I got PTSD." Yeah, but that was my introduction to the foster care system being taken away like that. So it was very impactful for me. So I would say I never got settled. Like I never in no
Mm.
places that I've been, like whether it was foster care or whatever case, like I always was ready to go because they would do things like it'd be like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. It's like, hey, you got to get your stuff, you got to leave, you got to go over
Wow.
here, you got to go over there. So I never got settled and I never got attached to people. So it was always interesting, um, especially in relationships. It's like, hey, how can you go without calling me? How can you go without texting me? I'm just used to kind of being solo dolo or whatever. Now, over time, as I matured, I've kind of gotten better, but that's the reason for that, because everything that I would think that this is permanent wouldn't last long. So I never was one of those teenagers or adolescents that got attached to things. I always kind of like kept my distance.
And do you currently have any children now?
Yes, yes, I do.
Okay.
I have some daughters that are amazing, and I look forward to seeing them blossom. You know what I'm saying? That's another reason that I do this content creating type thing, because to me it's an open diary. Like if something was to ever happen to me, I talk about love. I talk about problems between men and women. Um, credit. I talk about a lot of things, so it's kind of like a living diary for me. So I try to just kind of, keep it PG when I can, but yeah, it's kind of like a living diary for me. So open letter to them.
So a lot of times you give your message, you're speaking to us, but you're thinking of your children, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think because for me, like I don't come from the Facebook era. I'm in the Facebook era now, but for me, I don't have any videos of my mother speaking. Like I don't have any videos of my father speaking. So I wouldn't know their aspect and how they feel about life. Like what was your narrative? You know what I'm saying? Were you, pro-choice, pro-life? What was you? So I think that it gives my children some insight, and the people that will get to know me, and their families that they're going to create. I think that it gives them some insight of who I was as a man.
Are you still with the child's mother, your children's mother?
No, I'm single, brother. I'm single.
Okay.
I'm single. Yeah.
So how hard is it being a single father? On
It's
a scale of one
difficult.
to 10.
It's. Ooh, shit. How you get 20? You get 20? Nah, this is. I guess it depends on how. It depends on the relationship between you and the mother, because normally a lot of times when a situation, depending on how you get out that situation, how you exit that situation. If you guys are civil, then cool. But if it's not civil, that discord sometimes it creates hardship for the non-custodial parent to be around their child, because it's like, okay, well, now that you got a new boyfriend, or now that you got a new girlfriend, or it just creates a disdain, because when they see you happy, for some reason it makes them unhappy. And that goes for both men and women. I talk about a lot about co-parenting on my channel as well, because I feel like a lot of times we promote hardship with the other parent to the extent that it affects the child, but we think it's not affecting the child because we put a lot of materialistic things in front of their face. If I give you Jordans, a PlayStation, I take you on trips, hell, if I get a new person in here, I get a new mom, new dad, it will circumvent what you're missing. But to me, it never circumvents it.
So let's speak about your first child, right?
Yeah.
Walk me through the process when you found out your at that time your lady's pregnant.
Oh shit.
Your mindset.
No, I thought you said you was.
You felt like
Is it mine? You better stop playing.
Did you feel like you was ready? I mean,
Shit, man. I think I've always taken on a role as like a father, though. Like I always been like, if you ever talk to any of my siblings, like they've always been like, he's always been the father figure. So I always took on that role. Like when I joined the military, um, as a private, like that's the lowest level or whatever. I actually went back and got two of my brothers and my sister, and I brought them to Hawaii with me. So I was kind of raising them while I was in Hawaii as a private, learning how to be, a soldier. So just to answer your question in regards to what do I think I was ready? Um, I was excited. You know what I'm saying? I was excited to prove to myself that, I could be a good father. I was excited. I was excited more or less. Nervous at the point of I didn't feel like I was where I needed to be a great provider in regards to finances, and just started my career in the military. So I was like, okay, I don't want to be the guy that, what I'm saying, he was like, hey, do some push-ups. Like in front of my kid, not in front of my kid, bro. Stall me out, Devo. Stall me out. So yeah, but I was excited.
do you remember? It's crazy. Do you remember your first visit for your first child? Do you remember the first doctor visit?
Yeah.
No, while your lady was pregnant with your first
Yeah,
child.
yeah. The
Okay,
ultrasound and
well,
stuff.
so tell me about
Oh
that.
man, yo, that was freaky, bro. That was freaky. I was serious, because I'm looking at the thing, and it was a female, and she was putting a gelatin on her belly, right? And I was like, I mean, I'm like, at first I didn't think what I was seeing in my stomach. So I'm just kind of like, I'm pushing her belly while the thing is going around. So I'm trying to see, okay, maybe this is fate. Maybe this is, I don't know. It didn't really hit me until my daughter was born. Um, the magnitude of, I helped make this. Like during the whole process, I used to read, I used to play classical music, I used to do certain things, but it didn't really hit me until I seen the birth. Like that, if that was some scary shit, bro. I don't know how
Wait,
y'all them
wait, hold
females.
on. Before you get to there, right? Was you right next to her when her water broke?
Yes, yes,
Okay. What
yes.
happened? Like, what was that like when her water broke?
It broke in the truck.
So you was on your way to the hospital.
Yeah, it broke in the truck.
Oh, okay. Okay. Did you kind of freak out? Was you speeding or?
I was trying to be sensible, but it wasn't. We didn't live that far from the hospital, so it wasn't a long drive. But I mean, of course, it
Okay.
felt like a long drive.
Yeah.
5 minutes was 5 hours. I was like, I know the street ain't that long. I know the street, and she, and I looked down, and the seat was wet. And I was like, oh my god, you know what I'm saying? I hope she don't have this baby up in here because I ain't gonna never get this placenta out of the truck. You know what I'm saying? Never. I mean, I think we traded the truck in after that though. Because I was like, it just smelled like insides.
So,
I could. It just smelled like insides to me. Just said.
so did you see when the baby actually came out?
Yeah,
And what would you
bro, I was faded. Don't tell nobody though. I was faded, bro. Like I'd been to Iraq, Afghanistan. I'd jumped out of planes, bro. I didn't done some scary stuff, right? But that was. I'd rather go back to Iraq, bro. That was scary. I was like, and then I thought for some reason the baby's gonna get stuck, so I wanted to reach down and help pull. Like it was crazy, man. It was crazy.
did you cut the umbilical cord?
I did. I
Was
did. I
you
did.
did you do was you scared you was gonna do it wrong, or because I don't have any children, but I'm just imagining,
I wasn't. I mean, literally. I mean, the nurse was like guiding my hand or whatever. I was cool because I was a little
Okay.
wobbly. I should have
Okay,
ate.
okay.
I should have ate. I was a little wobbly. There was a lot of blood. It was a lot of. For real, it was a lot of mucus.
So tell me when you first held your daughter, your child, the firstborn, right?
Mhm.
When you first held the firstborn, what was that like?
It was like time stood still. Like nothing else. I couldn't hear nothing else. I couldn't see nothing else. Um, and it was an amazing feeling. It was an amazing feeling, and I just immediately went into protection mode. Like the nurse tried to come get the baby or whatever case. I don't even know you. Do you work here? Like for real. I mean, I immediately went into protection mode. It was a beautiful feeling. You know what I'm saying? It was a beautiful feeling. She literally was crying, when the nurse staff had her. But when I grabbed her and I was holding her, maybe she recognized my voice, but she stopped crying and just kind of looked up at me or whatever kiss me. Man, bro, that broke me up. I'm a tough guy, but yeah, shoot, I went from Leonidas got to Care Bear, like that for real, for
Barney,
real,
right?
for real. I was like, damn,
A Teletubby, yeah. So
Teletubby, not the purple one though. I think not the purple,
well, they all. I think
not
they
the
all.
purple one.
I think Teletubbies. I think they're pretty all bad, man. So that was a bad
All bad.
example. I
Not,
didn't want
not the Teletubbies then.
That's
Zero on the Teletubbies.
Barney. Let's say Barney. Barney's pretty
Barney,
funny, Yeah.
I don't like purple that much, but okay, we'll go with that one.
At least he's a dinosaur. It's kind of tough, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
You're right.
so how do you feel about children on social media?
Children
Let's say
on
around 8 years old.
um. So one of my daughters is 8 years old, which is interesting because I think between her mother and I think that we do a good job at trying to protect her in reference to checking um, her social media. But there are some guys out there, and there are some people out there that they hunt down children. They want to engage with children. They hear other kids, and they try to link up with your child. They try to link up with your child, like, hey, let's go, do certain things. So, children on social media, I think that you need to be mindful as a parent of what your child is doing and what your child is involved in. The chat room that they're involved in chat rooms. They need to check the messages. But a lot of parents, to be honest with you, they want to be the cool parents. And I don't
Mm.
knock that. I don't knock that, but I think sometimes when you're trying to be the cool parent, you disregard your responsibilities as a parent. I'm gonna let you live your best life, but I'm also gonna monitor you. Some people it's like I'm not gonna monitor you. I'm just gonna let you live your best life. And then that's why you find that your child has been exposed to a lot of other things that you as a parent do not want your child exposed to. So yeah. Children, yeah, I think
Yeah,
yeah.
and like the people that's like predators out there, it doesn't matter what position they're in life. Like PlayStation 5 vice president
Yeah.
was recently a few weeks ago fired due to pedophilia. He was trying to meet up with a minor.
Crazy.
He, that's a high position. So why would see me and you think like why would you risk that? They're sick,
Right.
right?
Right. Right. Right.
So
Right.
yeah, they're not. It doesn't matter what kind of intellect they have, because recently, a few days ago, I think, North Kardashian, which is Kanye West's daughter, oldest
Mm-hmm.
daughter, and Kim
Mm-hmm.
Kardashian, recently went live. I think for about close to like a half an hour, went
Mm-hmm.
live on TikTok, whatever, and gave a tour of their house, and Kim was sleeping.
Mm. Wow.
And it's a live chat, so people you see the people are typing, and people screen record it, so people
Yeah.
could have been typing, giving her instructions what to do. She's a kid, right?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
she's
Yeah.
8 or 10 years
Yeah.
old. So that's why I think it's a little difficult with children on social media, and it's hard with parents. I get it, because especially with the lockdown, you have your child in the house.
Mm-hmm.
They can't go out. They can't play with their friends. They can't do this. They can't do that. And you got to be there while they're playing that stupid game. And you got to be there while you got to
Yeah.
listen into it. But sometimes you need to, like, you know what? Take the game for 2 hours, and you feel like because my child is in the house, they must be safe. Let
Yeah.
them go. I need a break too. And it's kind of rough. But I don't think children should be on social media like that.
No doubt. I think the pandemic, honestly, I think what it did was it forced adults to be parents. It forced them to be involved with their kids. I'm sure if their homes were big enough, what I'm saying, people they separated, but I think it just forced more interaction. It forced more time to kind of see what your child does when they're in the house, because either you're at work or you at the club or you at your friend's house or whatever. So I think the pandemic forced people to be parents, and for those that came out successfully, congratulations, because I think a lot of children, though they didn't know that they missed it or needed it, I think a lot of children appreciated it at the end of the day.
Now you're from the Bronx, right? Let's step
Yeah.
the age up a little bit. Let's go to like the teenage age.
Okay.
How do you feel about a lot of the not a lot, but a good amount of the parents, the teenagers running around causing a lot of the mayhem? You're familiar with the Bronx, the teenagers that's going around doing crazy stuff, right? Have you heard about it? Kind of. Okay.
Yeah.
And their parents don't speak English. So if you don't speak English, you're not checking it. You're not checking their homework.
Right.
You're not checking their text messages. Recently, one of the I try to stay away from the topic, but K Flock, you've heard of him, right? He's like
Yeah.
a rapper from the
Yeah.
Bronx. Supposedly, I believe he's 18 years old,
Mm-hmm.
but he's been doing stuff whatever in his teenage years when he wasn't legal to even be out like that.
Mm-hmm.
Should the parents be responsible, held accountable for the terrorism that they're causing on other elderly people and other people? Should his parent or those parents be held accountable?
The adult in me wants to say, you damn right, but there's a level of realism, and that means that you can give your child all the standards and morals and values. You can talk to your child all you want to. You can make sure that your child is in the house at a certain time. But to be honest with you, you can't control your child's actions once your child leaves your presence. Now you can put the fear of God in them, like, and say, hey, if you do these things, I'm upside your head. But um, I think that we as parents need to find a way to shell shock our kids before it happens. You remember the Scared Straight program?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, for some people, that worked. You understand what I'm saying? It was like,
Yeah.
okay, but I see the road that you're heading. Before you get, or if you continue to do the things that you're doing, this is where you're gonna end up at. and then they got a chance to interact with those inmates or whatever. Because for some of them, like, nah, I ain't trying to do that. I think we need to get back to a way that we can shell shock our children into reality. Like for a lot of us, we've been through hardship. We've been through trial and tribulations. What happens when you go through trial and tribulations, immediately you say, I don't want my kids to go through that. So you set the parameters for all of these magnificent things. You give your kids the PlayStation, you give your kids all these things. So they never have to really work for anything. They never have to really do anything that requires any responsibility, and they feel entitled. So they take that entitlement and they say, well, I'm going to leave the house with that entitlement. That's why they have an issue with authority. That's why when you say something like, before it took a village to raise a family, right? It takes a village. Now, nah, the village don't care. No one cares in the village now. So that's why it allows those children to run free and rapid or whatever. But what happens is the people that they respect are the drug dealers. The people that they respect are the pimps. The people that they respect are the criminals, because those people know how they demand that respect. No, you will do this. You will do that. So the thing that the parents should be doing, the streets are doing. And they're allowing those children to say, okay, well, hey, listen, you're going to listen to me. And when I tell you to ride across town and shoot such and such, that's what you're going to do. You know, standards, responsibility. The streets give standards and responsibility. And I think a lot of people feel like they don't, but they actually do. Anything that you lack to give your children, the streets will provide.
Yeah, it's just really, it's really, really, because I'm in New York City, but it's really, really, it's really out of control, and someone got to be held, especially the teenagers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're not old enough to be held accountable, but there needs to be a severe, I know I'm probably off with my statement and so forth, but I think people Section 8 government citizens should be canceled. If your child
Mm-hmm.
is out there causing
Mm-hmm.
mayhem, robbing these delivery workers, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the elderly in the Bronx are getting their ass beat. A lot of the elderly are getting their ass beat.
Yeah.
It's not just robberies; they're
Yeah.
killing people.
Yeah.
I'm not. No, I'm sorry. I'm not saying K Flock is doing that, but I'm saying
Right.
about
Right. 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 I get it. I
those
get it.
crews. Those crews individually.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they're doing stuff. One of my friends' friend recently died um, during that whole mess or whatever the case. It's out of hand. It's getting too close. You know what's happening? They're going around. They're doing these things. They're, a lot of these kids are only 4'11", 100 pounds,
Mm-hmm.
skinny jeans, shooting people.
Yeah.
And you know what's gonna happen? They're gonna do it to the wrong person, and someone's gonna become Batman out here. But a
Yeah.
lot of look what's happening. These 4-year-old kids are dying. Kids are being shot in their own home. Their home getting
Mm-hmm.
killed by these stray bullets. Kids are in the park getting shot and killing because of drill. People want to follow the drill music, whatever. It's out of hand. And
I,
extreme measures, just like the 1994 crime bill, people's crying about that. They're
mm-hmm.
going to take extreme measures to clean up the streets.
You know what's crazy to me is it's crazy and it's interesting. It's like when we talk about police brutality, black on black crime, systematic racism, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's interesting that I notice how people within a community, the responsibility to clean it up, they place that responsibility on the government, but they don't want the government to tell them what to do in the community. So I want to give you the responsibility, but I don't want you to tell me what to do within my community. And the thing about it is, you're allowing your community to be out of control. You're allowing the drugs to fester. You're allowing the crime to blossom, the abuse to blossom, because you're turning the other cheek. A lot of people don't want to do anything until it knocks on their front door, until are affected. So when you say, hey, these elderly are getting beat up, well, what's really being done about it? Let's be real. I'm gonna complain to the government, and I'm gonna say, hey, you guys need to send the police in here to clean this up. Okay, cool. The police come in and they say, well, who did that? Who did that crime? I can't tell
I
you.
don't know. I can't say.
I can't. Look, you got to figure it out. You got to be Columbo. So it's like, do you really want it fixed? Do you really want it fixed? I'm kind of like you. I'm kind of like you. If you want change, you have to help the change, against the change. So if you're saying, hey, government, state, federal, whatever, I want you to come and clean up my community. I want to have activity centers open. The schools are free of drugs. I want to make sure that I'm saying children can get home safely, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you have to put your best foot forward, and you have to say, well, I have to be a responsible citizen. If you're not going to be a responsible citizen, there's no need to complain about what's going on in your community. If you're not going to say, I'm going to help law enforcement, help them clean up the block, or move. People stay in infested neighborhoods for years and generations and say, well, we just here. No, America's a big place. I don't have shooting outside. Like, I ain't going to sleep to gunshots and sirens every night. So move. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
that's just me.
No, you're right. Like you would see, like they had when Trump was president, they sent representatives to go to the projects, right? But then they started to interview individual people about their living, and that's in the project, their living conditions.
Yeah.
And the first thing they would do is talk bad about Trump.
Mm-hmm.
But we're talking about your living conditions. So whenever I see, because my family lives in public housing, whenever I see people complain about public housing, I would purposely call in management for that section. And the management would say, not one person, there's 2 elevators, none of them work. Not one person called to complain. If you check social media,
yeah,
you see a lot of ass being shaked. You see some ghetto stuff, but you don't see no one recording the issue. It'd be like one person out of a whole building, and that person is singled out, right? That no, everyone has a camera phone. Everyone has social media. No one's recording and putting a complaint of the issues. Leakage, whatever the issues that they're having. No one's complaining about them.
you under this. Okay, let's have this deep conversation here. Let's do this.
Okay.
No one wants to be a martyr. Now, normally when you hear martyr, that's people dying for a religion. My thing about it, no one wants to stand in front of the cause. No one wants to say, hey, whoa. Let me tell you what the problems are. And have their face seen, have their name out there like that. Because a lot of people fear retaliation. They fear whoever they're talking about against, that they're going to do something to them. So everyone is saying, hey, I'm just trying to protect my neck. I'm trying to protect my family. And the thought process is, what if you build or join forces with someone that feels the same way you do? Say, hey, we want to clean these streets up. We want to make sure our apartment buildings or our projects is cleaned up or whatever it can be. I'm gonna be real. There are more people joining TikTok than joining forces to clean up neighborhoods.
Yeah.
There are more people doing TikTok challenges than saying, let's challenge ourselves to get these neighborhoods cleaned up. I ain't seen no videos about cleaning up the neighborhood. Like, I ain't seen nobody going live saying we need a neighborhood. Like, I haven't seen it yet.
No, you definitely you won't find it. You won't hear, because let's be real, okay? So when it comes to street drugs and me as an individual, I can't do nothing about that, right? I mean, this, like you say, if I try to, there's going to be repercussions of that. If I'm pointing out individuals, which I'm not going to do that, right? Because that's my family on the line, right?
Right.
But there are certain things I can do. Like when I went to go visit some family members, live in the projects, one particular family member, she's elderly. So, but the front of the building is like, the garbage is here and the trash all over. So I just, I just started sweeping. That's the part that I can do. I've seen some people that I know when they was little and they growing up, and I know kind of like the activity they're doing. Try to have it individually, because you can't talk to them around the other people. Talk to them individually. Say, hey, listen, blah blah blah. And you get when you speak to the teenagers or even people individually, you get a different aspect. A lot of people are more respectful.
Yeah.
You get the real side of them, and you're like, damn, I didn't think they would be that humble to listen to what I'm saying. They probably go back to doing the same thing, but
have you heard of the term redlining?
Yeah.
Okay, so with those people that's not familiar with the term redlining, okay, that's when you have your mayors, right? You have your mayors, and they have this map of the city, right? And on that map of the city or whatever case to be, they have this whatever color marker they use, but they have this line. That's the urban community versus the suburbs and all of the Caucasians, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm gonna say this to you guys. You have the National Guard. You have other military outlets that's available, of course, and then you have your FBI, CIA, all the alphabet boys and stuff. If they wanted to clear a section within the red line of drugs, they could. The question is, why are they not? That's the question. So if enough people went down to City Hall, enough people decide we're going to get inside this church, we're going to get inside this conference center, and we're going to sign this petition and say, we want the government to come in. Because here's the thought process. And I guess people think that the law enforcement is stupid. They already know everybody that stands on the corner. They already know all of these nickel and dime type people or whatever. But if you're saying we don't want that in our community, from this east end to this end right here, we don't want to see nobody standing on no corners. You can't even stand on the corner unless you're getting ready to cross the street. So we don't want to see none of that. No loitering, none of that. What the thought process is, who's going to pick up the mantle and say, okay, well, hey, let's get this done. Now I hear a lot about the Tamika Mallory's and the Mysons and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. My thought process is, what neighborhoods have you cleaned up? A lot of talking. We do great at talking, but no action, zero action. So my thought process is this neighborhood cleaned up? In Marcy, is this in Queens and in Manhattan? Is this neighborhood cleaned up? Why is it that we can go into this neighborhood and it's clean? It's no trash on the ground. It's no bloods. It's no Crips. It's no gang activity. It's no a bunch of people sitting in a park smoking weed and drinking and stuff. Why can't we go over here and it's clear, but when we go over here, it's not? The question is, when the people that's in charge, why are we not talking to them? Why are we not going down there and demanding these things be changed?
Well, I can tell you from New York City, right? The big issue in New York City is that the people that are in charge, they don't want that, right? That's how funds get missed. You got mayor, without going too far into topic, because this is your interview, right? I want it to be more about what I'm dealing with, but you got Mayor de Blasio. His wife has a program called Thrive. Have you heard of it? Thrive?
I haven't heard of it.
Okay. Thrive is a program that's supposed to be handling the mentally ill people, mentally ill, drug addicts, and so forth. $850 million to $1 billion is missing. It's not spent. It's missing. So if you take $1 billion, is missing, and he doesn't have to answer to nobody for it. You got the comp controller that's not going after him, asking about the funds.
Right.
You have individual like me going to City Hall, we're protesting with stuff, and guess what? He doesn't have to answer to. So when you have powerful, de Blasio is a very powerful person. When you have powerful people like that, if you think you're gonna get through, expect to get missing.
Right.
Expect you gotta expect. So you know what a lot of people are doing? They're just saying, you know what, y'all people, which is us, y'all want to destroy your own neighborhood, y'all want to do this. You know what? Fine, nope, not a problem. Projects got the best infrastructure. It's fireproof, right? Y'all want to do that? Y'all want to tear your own stuff up? We'll come back when they do gentrification.
Right. Hey, exactly right. I totally agree with it. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I really think that if you live in an environment where it is not conducive for your health, okay, for your health, for your family's success, for your success, I would encourage you to leave. I would encourage you to find a place where you can blossom. And I think a lot of people, they get stuck in this whole situation of, I don't know how to get to the greener grass. I don't know how to accomplish that. Maybe that's not for me, or maybe I can't. And I think that if we can identify, and I think this is something that the government should do, if we identify people and say, hey, I don't want to live in this neighborhood, I want to live in a better neighborhood, give them the funds to move. Give them the funds. Hey, we're going to move you from here and we're going to put you in this better neighborhood. Our only contingency is, or we ask that, you have a job. Okay. You're a working citizen. And that you're productive. You're not just sitting there collecting a check all, you know what I'm saying? You're doing something. So I think if we could do some things like that and leave the people that want to be a part of the fester, the nonsense, in that community.
The biggest problem in New York City that we have is, have you heard of the no bail reform?
Mm.
No bail. So there's several cases where someone would shoot someone. A young man in Brooklyn, illegal. I think he's like Indian or maybe he's Arabic, but he's not legal. He
Mm-hmm.
stabbed his father in the heart. He got released the same day, and I'll put the link of that in the description. He got released the same day after stabbing his father in the heart. No, he stabbed his father in the heart, and ICE called the precinct, say, "Hey, listen, we're coming down to go get him." NYPD released him, so ICE can't get him. And then he went into a young girl's home, fire escape, and raped her.
Wow.
People, the criminals, the issues that the criminals are getting out at this, there's no repercussion, you know. So we can stay on that for a long time. But listen, you posted a video, right? You posted a video, and let me just say this also: people think that I'm against the people. I'm not. I really want people to do better. I don't like to see children being shot. I don't like to see people getting killed, because if it happens to my family, I'm turning into Batman. You take it how you want. There's no. Let me tell you something. If I have a child, you're not raping my child. You're not going to kill my child, in thinking you're going to be back on the street. It's not happening. There's some men out. Listen, if you're a man and one of these punks take your child's life, or do something to your child, and now your child's crippled, disformed, and got to live that pain the rest of their life, and you do nothing, you're a pussy. I'm gonna leave it like that, right? So
I hear you.
Listen,
I hear you.
Listen,
I hear you. No, I'm saying, I got you.
You got me.
I hear you.
Listen, so you did a post a few days ago, right, about you can't turn a hoe into a housewife, right? Referring to, not necessarily referring to, I think it was referring to me. Can you, it's pretty self-explanatory, but about that video.
Yeah. So that was that Megan Good situation. And I kind of feel like people, when they get into relationships, they're under this impression, they try to bury themselves, like the real them, like the things that they used to do where they found to be amusing, fun, whatever it is that they felt, whatever their vice was, they tend to say, well, in order to be in this relationship, I'm gonna dumb it down some. And what happens is, people start to resent you because they had to dumb themselves down. So if that was going to the strip club, if that was hoeing, if that was drinking, smoking weed, whatever it is that they were doing that they had to dumb down for the person that they're now in a relationship with, they tend to resent you for those things. They tend to sit back and say, well, you're stopping me from being, the best me. And what happens when people get out of relationships, they say, well, now I'm going to do me. You ever hear those people say, now I'm going to do me? Well, you should have been you in a relationship. What happened to you in the relationship? Why did you, dumb yourself down to the point where now you resented me? Now, of course, you're not going to be a hoe in a relationship. Of course, that, But I'm just saying that I feel like a lot of people get with people on an extended situationship. It's just like, hey, this one night stand that should have ended a long time ago. We just trying to make it work because, hey, it is what it is. But I feel like a lot of people get into relationships where it goes past a one night stand to a situationship, and you never really have a relationship. Y'all just together. You know what I'm saying? You too fearful of being alone. So now y'all just together. For some reason, y'all just together. You know what I'm saying? It could be for finances. It could be because, hey, it's easy access to vagina. It's easy access to penis. Y'all just together. And you find out over time that you don't like each other. Some people are like, man, I can't stand this person. I don't even like the way they breathe. They on the toilet. Like, you just find out you don't like each other over time. And I just feel like that Megan Good situation, I think she tried to be wholesome. I think she tried to be the first lady. She tried to be, the church going lady, but I don't think that was in her. I think who she is who she is. And I think that she tried to dumb herself down. She tried to fall back a little bit. And even though he did all of the great public gestures of saying, this is my wife, she could dress how she wants to, et cetera, but she's dressing in the name of the Lord and all that, it just don't jive well. It don't jive. You can't have your first lady looking like she just came from a TikTok or Instagram
She
photo
belonged
shoot.
to the streets.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying. So I think
Yeah.
Megan Good is an attractive woman. I just said, some people are. I mean, I hate to say it like that, for the streets. And when I say for the streets, they're accustomed to living their life a certain type of way. And if you shelter them, you want to put them in this, put this barricade in front of them where people can't see them, and knowing full well that's how they are. They like that attention. They like that attention, and they need it. They feed off of it. And I don't think people realize that when you have someone that's an extrovert and they really like that attention, they really need it to make them feel wholesome. When they don't get it, they don't feel whole. And I don't think she felt whole. You know what I'm saying? So that's just my thought process about that video.
Yeah, because I think that I've always seen her. I think maybe I'm wrong, but every role she's ever played was sexualized, dressed the way she dressed, everything. I mean, maybe, I don't know. She's always been a sex,
I
like
think the
kind of like
majority of it, yeah.
even though she's, saying that she's praising God, but there's a lot of sexual attention, and a lot of these women now, man, they want to. It's like they got to do a tell-all when they break up, right? You got to tell the world what went wrong, why.
That's a great point. My thought it was crazy about me. I noticed that people who come to social media and they want to give you this breakdown about what happened in their relationships. They never ever say they were the culprit at any point in time, that they were toxic, they were the narcissist. They never say what they were responsible for doing. It was the onus of the damage is always on the other person. So I'm always skeptical of hearing someone's relationship, especially when they say, it's them pointing a finger at someone else, because I noticed that when you get deeper and you listen, they'll then start talking about their other relationships. And for some reason, the end result is always the same. And I'm thinking that, honestly, for me, looking at the situation, you the nucleus to the problem, goddammit. You the nucleus. I mean, obviously, you're doing something to help with these results that you're getting, these negative results. And I feel like a lot of people, especially a lot of content creators, they do a great job at promoting the deflection and not the reflection and self-evaluation of what you do in a relationship. It's always, how can I pimp your pain? Like, how can I make sure that we point out it's somebody else's fault and not your fault? And it's channels that are very successful doing that. There are content creators that are very successful with doing it, which is very interesting to me.
Yeah, we could probably go on about her for a while. But Cynthia G, do you think she has a mental illness?
No, brother. I think Cynthia G is she is I want to make sure I say this about Cynthia G. I think Cynthia G is very very smart. I think she's very smart. You got to be smart. You have to be smart, because you realize that women are so emotional, to the point where if they could go somewhere and it never be about their accountability and it's always about someone else's accountability, cha-ching. And if we come up with this rhythm of saying, okay, we know it's not we're not going to hold any women responsible. So no matter if you cheated, no matter if you had a bad attitude, you were self-centered, you were overly emotional, you were jealous, you were insecure, none of that comes into play. So imagine forming a platform where you're never held responsible and you can kind of kick back and laugh at someone else. She is very smart. You gotta be smart. Hell, if I could find a way to benefit from what Cynthia G does, just say it. I mean, you have to be smart.
Another content creators, you spoke about him as well. Try and Steal Christmas, Hassan Campbell. His followers and him is, don't held me. It's like, with me personally, speaking of Hassan Campbell, and I've never openly spoke about him. There's a lot of things that every now and then I'm watching. I'm like, wow, man, yeah, you're right. I agree with it. And then he comes out with, like, a few hours later, a drunk video where he's drunk, and then he takes down the video quickly, and it's like, he does have a lot to say. And my son was saying the same thing. I disagree with something with my son as well, but My son said, but you're not even outside though, man. Like you
Yeah.
were saying, what are people willing to do? You know, Hassan's not involved, right? There's no like foundation, there's no movement. It's just online talk, you know?
My issue with Hassan Campbell, not a concern, issue, gripe, complaint, is that Hassan promoted this whole I want to tell my story about being a victim, and I want to help other people, help children, and basically provide that barrier of prevention. That was his mission statement. That was his coming out story. And I was like, I stumbled across his brother. I said, you know what? That's something I can support. I get behind it 100%. But now that I see, like, it's 3 cars later, it's a home later, it's different hats and chains and fish and guns and knives and axes later. There still has been no effort to help anyone. There still has been no foundation open or started. There's no donations going towards relocation or counseling. There's nothing happening. So me being an adult and thinking about that action aspect, I am now saying, well, what about the action? You've done a lot of talking. You've had an opportunity to sit in the seat and get a turn, but now that you faltered on that, get your ass up. Get out the seat. It's time for someone that's going to be active, getting donations and saying, okay, hey, I'm here to help for real, and I'm willing to place my best foot forward. But Hassan Campbell is he's just like Charleston White to me, though. He's a shock jock. He's doing anything to shake up the social media, and I believe personally he's putting him in harm's way, because I think someone's going to try to make him an example, so they can get clout off of it. You know what I'm saying? And I think that he needs to be mindful um, of how much shock value he's trying to promote, because what's going to happen is when they can't get to you, they're going to get to your family or your friends.
Yeah, I was with Hassan Campbell, like you said about the whole movie molestation and stuff. Like, you know what? Wow, someone's openly speaking on it, right?
Mhm.
But when it comes to that, he lost me. I think it was August 14th was the last date for him to file, right?
Mhm.
I think to press charges,
Right,
and
right.
then other photos of him as an adult next to that person that he accused of molesting him. Um, you know, that was a
Yeah,
relationship. So,
yeah,
you know, you got to be held accountable for the stuff you say, you know. But that my whole thing with him is that um there's so much to say about him, but there's a lot of things I agree with him, and his actions is just it's off to me. But then you learn, molestation is runs in his family.
mm,
His
yeah,
his son was molested by another one of his family members while Hassan was in jail, and his son now is what? A she,
yeah,
a tranny, you know?
yeah.
Um, yeah, man. So if he ever listening, the most he could tell, well, he probably go crazy on this, but the most he can learn from this is to um start something.
Yeah, definitely.
Make him listen. The money you're making, no one's mad at the money you're making.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
money
yeah.
you're making, keep doing what you're doing. You speak on topics and stuff, keep doing that. But now I think you're at the point where you're making enough money where you don't even have to even physically. There's so many people not physically involved, right? They don't
Mhm.
want to go back to these neighborhoods and have to deal with this. But you can set up some things where people are able to deal with these emotional traumas, right? They got
I don't,
therapy that will go.
I don't think Hassan Campbell is a criminal, and he's a thug. Hassan Campbell is not business minded. So to start those organizations and to be affiliated with that, to even uh, um, um, get something like that off the ground, I really don't think like his mind works like that. So he would need someone to come in and manage that. The issue is, I think that he's kind of at a point right now where no one's really holding him accountable. Like when the masses hold him accountable and they say, well, hey, either do this or we're going to stop giving you support. If you're not going to hold me accountable, it's kind of like you were saying about the mayor. if you're not going to hold me accountable, I can do what I want with my money. I can continue to do the shenanigans. I can continue to do the shock value. I don't have to help anybody. You know, that's just how I got put on. I got put on by giving you a sob story, by pulling in your heartstrings. And then, okay, y'all a bit more details. Okay, cool. Let me switch this up, and now let me start beefing with people. Let me start promoting other things. So it's like now, it's like as the world turns, this is a general hospital. This is a soap opera. So now people are just tuning in. I'm gonna be honest with you. They tune in for the clown show. They don't tune in because he's about to say something that's gonna bring the community together. He's gonna say some things like, okay, yeah, I'm tired of all of the gang violence. Okay, cool. What are you doing about it?
What are you doing about it? Yeah.
Are you sitting down with the mayor? Are you going down to City Hall? Are you? I mean, what are you? I mean, you have enough money. I'm sure you can pay somebody to put you in front of someone that can actually help clean up the city. But I think Hassan Campbell, he's too wishy-washy. 1 minute he's promoting, hey, stop gun violence, stop the black on black crime, and the next minute he's on the street.
I'm a real nigga.
With a gun.
I did time. Yeah.
In the hood, you know. So his message is too polluted. It lacks consistency, and it lacks a genuineness, like a genuine effort to do anything. I think he just wants the limelight. He's probably been in the shadow of Bam and whoever else for a long time, and this is his chance to shine. So he's figured out a way to shine.
Let me ask you, right? So take someone, let's say someone that's not from the streets, regular person, but they want to help the community, right? What can they do? Like what can I do? Right.
Well,
like,
first of all, what community are we talking about? We're talking about the urban community. What type of community are we talking about?
Urban, Jesus. All right, so let's start with the urban.
Okay, so in the urban community, first of all, what's needed? Okay, first of all, you probably need some place where you can use as a safe haven, whether it's a church, if you have a community center. You know what I'm saying? If you have a building with some type of open area, whatever, where people can kind of gather and you can kind of teach there, you can promote there, you can promote positivity, you can promote reading, you can talk about investing, you can talk about credit, you can talk about, you know, better communication skills in reference to learning love languages and how to actually do interviews. So you can have a small space where you're just providing that teaching, and then find other people. It's plenty of people on social media to say, hey, look, I'm gonna be at this church at this time, and we're gonna be going over this. And if you have any knowledge and you want to come and talk for a few minutes or help out, you know, come through, post up flyers, go to the local bodegas or stores or churches and say, hey, if you guys wouldn't mind putting out this information for me, whatever. So you have to have a place to gather. If it's a park, then it's a park. But the fact of the matter is, people want to feel like they're a part of something bigger than themselves. So you have to find a place where you guys can gather and talk about those ideas, even if it's on social media. You know, even if it's on, since everybody has phones, it's like, hey, this is the link, and put out the same information. If you guys want to tune into this live, I'm gonna be talking about X, Y, and Z, yada yada yada. So I think if you really want to help, especially the urban community, you take the things that they're lacking. You know, it's not a lot of fathers in the homes, or not a lot of fathers connected to the home. So you find men that want to speak to children, that have a strong and genuine perception of what men are supposed to do. Be leaders, protectors, providers, and role models. So find those men, you know, find people that want to come and talk to the youth and build with the youth. I really think that people don't have enough faith in themselves individually. And because they don't have enough faith in themselves individually, they don't think that they can be a beacon of change. They don't think that they can be an advocate where people will listen to them. They don't feel like their voice is powerful enough. And shamefully so, that a lot of times when we hear people speak out, it's rappers, it's drug dealers, it's people that it's like doing things that really promote another message, but then they implement something positive in the message. You know, I'm a drug dealer, but yeah, y'all stop the violence. But on the back end, I'm promoting violence. You know, I'm a rapper. You know what I'm saying? You know, we need to respect all women, but in your music, it's womanizing. So you need someone that can stand in front of the community and really be about what it is that they talk about. So people can say, okay, cool, this is somebody we can get behind. Unfortunately, a lot of our leaders, and I'm gonna say a lot of our African American leaders, um, they come. Everyone comes tainted to a certain degree, but
Yeah.
they they live in that negativity. Like once you start getting donations, once you start getting notoriety, once you start getting a status above the average Joe, now all of these other things start coming out. Like you took the money and you strip club with it. You took the money, you took a trip with your mistress over here. It's just like you start doing all this. Like no one can stay the course for some reason. No one can stay the course. That's why I'm gonna be honest with you. That's why the Cynthia G's and Nyla says or whatever. That's why they have so much ammunition when it comes to black men, because a lot of times when we're put in positions, for some reason it crumbles. It's very difficult to have black people get together and have a successful run. It's just very difficult. And somebody might be viewing this and say, well, that's all races. All races have problems, and I get it. I understand.
But I'm not all racist though.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying in reference
I'm
to
black.
communities, that need support. It's really hard for those community leaders to stay the course and stay consistent. That's really what I'm saying.
What's one thing you want to take away from black people that you believe will help?
One thing I wanted to entitlement. I want to take away the entitlement of always saying, let's talk about slavery. Let's use slavery as a crutch to say what white people owe us. And you say, okay, well, white people owe us something, so I'm not going to work. White people owe us something, so I'm going to talk to anybody that's white in authority disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like that crutch that we're using, it only keeps us stagnant. You know what I'm saying? It only keeps us stagnant. Everything that the world offers, or America, hell, the world offers, we can research ourselves. No one's it's very few people get handouts that's going to allow you to grow and to blossom. Like I'm gonna give you a couple dollars every month, right? I'm gonna give you a place to stay, Section 8, and I'm gonna give you a couple dollars with that or whatever. Okay, but I'm not going to give you the information to invest this money that I'm giving you. I'm not going to give you the information to find out that, you know what, hey, you actually could move across town to a better neighborhood, you know what I'm saying? And your credit score don't need to even be that high. So it's like a lot of people don't go and seek the information. They just want people to give them something. And I think a lot of black people, they feel entitled. And because of that entitlement, we help promote these generational curses.
What's one thing you want to add to the black community? You believe that will help?
Love. Um, Love for the community, a genuine love for the community, a general understanding that, you know what, our community does not have to be like this. We can make our safe. We can support our community. We can love the individuals in our community. And I think that the love for community is not there. I think it's tainted. You know, I think it's tainted.
Do you think that Asian Americans are successful as a whole? I know there's obviously poverty everywhere and so forth, but as a whole,
Yeah.
as a people, as a community, do you think they're successful?
I lived in Korea for 18,
No,
18 months.
Asian Americans.
Asian Americans. Okay.
Yeah, because I know there's real poverty over there, right?
Um, I think the work ethic that Asians have makes them successful.
What
Yeah.
about white people in America?
Um, I think the majority, um, especially the majority that's being on social media, they're successful. Majority.
Do you consider black people as a whole successful in America?
as a whole, man, we've accomplished so much. I think we're under this. I think some people are under this impression that the uh, even though we have big urban areas that have these projects and hoods and the bricks or whatever, that's not all America, you know,
Yeah.
or that's not all black people in America. Like there are a lot of black people that are successful, doctors, lawyers, astronauts. So as a whole, I think we definitely have some work to do, but I think that to a certain extent we are successful. To a certain extent, I think we are successful. I think in every major career field, we've definitely we have a stamp on a lot of those areas. We have people intertwined in those areas. So I think we're reaching those goals slowly but surely. In reference to saying that we as black people as a whole are successful.
Do you believe ignorance is something that we inherit as black people? It's just like automatically within us.
I don't know why is that a black question? What the fuck did you? Is that a is that a black question, motherfucker? Ignorance inherited, man. I think that we all have. I think we all have certain levels of ignorance. Um, like case in point, I just posted something on my community tab that showed Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and some other guy. They were all white and Asian or whatever, and they said, "Hey, this picture is like 147 billion, you know," and you see like some real plain stuff on. And I thought about it because, of course, they don't have the gold chain and the teeth and all this other
Yeah.
stuff or whatever, but they've spent their money in other places. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it's kind of hard to say because they're not flashy, they're not spending money like black millionaires or whatever case may be. We all have our vices. I think we all have our vices. So our vices as for some black people, some people might say it's ignorant, but if you're living in that community, you don't think it's ignorant. You don't feel like it's ignorant. Like if I pull up in a old ass car and it got 26-inch rims on it, but I don't have the people in that society, the people in that group of people, they're not going to say that's ignorant. They're going to say, oh shit, that's amazing. However,
Mm.
if you come out of that and you see it, you're going to like, and then the schematics on it, you say you don't have a house, but you just put these rims on your vehicle. That don't make sense. Why not get the house first? So I just think that depending on what community you're a part of, or you want to be a part of, you tend to do things that are conducive to where you want to be and where you want to go. And if I mean, ignorance is bliss. Everybody has their own form of ignorance, their own level. I guess it just depends on who you are and what you think is ignorant.
So the question sounds like kind of crazy, but it does make you think a little bit, right? Like, why the hell
It
would you
makes you
ask me
think.
that? But
It's some
let
good,
me
some
let me
good
slap
questions.
you up.
I just hate to because the thing about it is I know a lot of successful black people, and I would do them a great deal of injustice to be like acting like there are no successful black people. You see what I'm saying? And when we talk about the urban community, there are I don't want to say there are impoverished white people. You got your trailer trash. You got your, I mean, so you have other people that are not as successful just because they are white or whatever case may be. So you have these different areas. Unfortunately, the urban communities. A lot of movies have been made about the urban communities. A lot of
Yeah.
broadcasting on social media and other media outlets about the urban communities, and it really puts us in a light where we're prone to violence. We're prone to criminal activity. We're prone to abuse. We're prone to having run-ins with the law, and it sends a message to people that um, of other races that these are the things that we. And for a lot of black people, they don't value those things. They don't value they want to be productive citizens. They want to live in nice homes, and they want to raise their kids successfully. They believe in education. They believe in being a good citizen. So for a lot of these things are getting promoted for black men. So when you walk into a bank or you walk into a school or a meeting, are you looking at me like I'm a character off of Empire or BMF, or are you looking at me, what I'm saying, just as a regular person here in front of you? And I think that those multimedia outlets promote black men in such a daunting way that, it could be frustrating a lot of times, because frustrating for the person, for the people that's involved. First of all, you as a person, and then the person that is dealing with you, because they don't know what's coming and they don't know what's in front of them.
Yeah, and I think there's two issues. That number one, um, a lot of white people are not doing well. Like you just said, trailer trash. There's a lot of white people that they're not privileged, man. They
Right,
really grew up in some.
right,
You think you grew up rough?
right.
They grew up in some. Their parents on crack too. Your
Yeah,
parents on crack. Their parents are heroin crack. They going through some, molestation. They going through some stuff too.
yeah,
Majority of the welfare recipients are white people. So,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, especially when yeah. So, and also, like you pointed out, what's happening is that a lot of the black men that's doing not well are getting more of the light than the men that are doing well. Like you
Yeah.
said, there are black doctors. There's a lot of there's a look at most of the inventions. Name something that wasn't created by a black person,
Mm,
right? So most of the inventions, stuff that's happening, from alcohol,
mm,
hot comb, a comb,
mm,
hat, car, electricity,
mm,
peanut butter, the traffic light was all invented by black people,
yeah.
right? But we're overshadowed by um, the nonsense, and I think that's part of because of the media, and
Mm,
me and you are media now, right?
mm. Right, right, right.
Me and you are media, and it's sad that if we start talking about those things in black empowerment, how many clicks you gonna get?
Yeah, you're
When
right.
if you talk about, I had to bring up the Hassan Campbell so I can get
Mhm.
some clicks. So I can put that when I clip it up and put it in the title. We're talking bad about Hassan Campbell. We didn't really say nothing crazy, right? But
Right, right, right.
but that's what that's as far as that. And would you rather so who is the closest to you? Give me 1 second, real quick. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay, so who is the closest to you?
Who is the closest person to me?
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. That's a good question. I would say my sister, probably.
Okay. So God
Yeah,
forbid your sister passes away. God forbid
yeah,
passes away today. What
yeah.
is something you're gonna regret you didn't say or do with her?
Um, I think I'm very vocal with her, so I'm not gonna live. I probably live with the regret of not being around her. Um, but I'm very vocal with her, because we've been through a lot. Very vocal with how I feel, and she's very vocal with how she feels. Seems like every relationship she goes through, I go through. Every relationship I go through, she goes through, whether it's personal or professional. So, yeah. So I'm very vocal with her.
Okay. So you don't regret nothing, God forbid, right?
Yeah. No
Okay. So
regrets at this point.
you're very open with her. Okay. So would you rather get stranded on Antarctica or a desert?
Hmm. I'm gonna say Antarctica.
Would you rather
I
marry
think it has more resources.
Antarctica? Okay.
Yeah.
Would you rather marry a homeless person or a hoe?
Fucking questions, bro. Um, shit. I mean, damn. The hoe probably clean, so I probably go. Probably, I'm just saying, bro. I'm just saying.
So you would choose a hoe over.
Probably choose the hoe and just, I don't know.
So right. So help. So what is the reason why there's so? Because the 75% of black people in America is so small. We're insignificant
Mm,
compared to the other races, right? But
mm,
we have the highest crime rate, the highest single parent household. 75% of black children are born in a single parent household.
mm.
I know this is a long topic of why, but like, what can we do about the single parent household?
So this has been something I kind of been wrestling around with, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think that if you are not financially stable, um, if you don't have a home, if you don't have a vehicle, um, you don't have a certain level of credit, I don't think you should be having no kids. I think that should be mandated. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think that shit should be mandated. Like, mandated. You cannot have a kid if you do not have this, this, and this, and this. And I make it attainable goals. You see what I'm saying? I think that
Yeah,
kids in high school should not be having kids. I just feel like, it's. And I know somebody's like, how are you gonna tell somebody they can't have a kid? And that's not what I'm saying. You got to think about how many children are having children before they have a
yeah,
chance to see the world, before they have a chance to actually work a job. You know what I'm saying? To really have responsibilities and duties, you give them a baby. And then now it's the grandparents who have to carry the burden of saying, I raised your knucklehead ass and look at how you turned out. Now I got to deal with your goddamn kid. So now I got to worry about daycare, or I now become the daycare. So you got people that are generationally ignorant, grandparents trying to raise kids age when they have access to all of this other information. Shit, used to only have to tell you, hey, this was happening down this street, this was happening down this street, this was happening at the church. Now you got to have grandparents. This was happening in Africa. This was happening in Chicago. This was happening in Detroit. You got to have somebody well versed that can keep up with it. How many grandparents you really know that can really work social media like that? So they don't know. So now you got
mm,
these young kids outwitting their grandparents, able to say, okay, well, if I say this, I know I can get this out of them because I've learned this on social media. So to be honest with you, man, I think we're at, or we're in times where um, birth should be controlled. Birth should be controlled. You know what I'm saying? I mean, real shit. And there should be real consequences for people that say, hey, well, I think we'll move. If you don't want to be in your child's life, we're gonna put your ass in jail.
yeah.
Hold on, wait, hold on, get better. It get better because a lot of people cheering, they're gonna be cheering right now. Hold on. But if you make it difficult for that non-custodial parent to be in that child's life, we're gonna put your ass in jail. So now
Yeah,
you force these parents to be parents. I'm sorry, you force these adults to be parents.
yeah.
You force them to work together. You understand what I'm saying? You force them to provide. They ain't got to be in the same household, but they're provided for. And I think there's no consequences. It's like, we're gonna have this kid, and depending on if I feel like letting you talk to the kid or being around the kid or what. And then and what's so crazy about it? Can you imagine this? Because it's not like it don't happen, right? Two children, teenagers, having a child, and then the judge say, well, I'm gonna give it to this teenager just because she had the child. But she the hoe. She
Mm,
the wild one. She's
yeah.
the one that's irresponsible just as well. But we gonna give her. So that's happening in everyday life. You're teaching this child how to be a hoe. You're teaching this child how to be a drug dealer. You're teaching this child how to be disrespectful. You're teaching this child how to be uncooperative. So the thought process is, why don't we just mandate, if you are in high school, you can't have a baby. If you don't have shit, I don't know what a decent credit score, 650, maybe that's 650. I mean, I'm just saying, across the board, we set these adults up for success. So when you have a child, now you can take care of the child, and you don't have to worry about relying on the state. You don't have to worry about relying on the grandparents. That's the conversation that we should be having. We want people to be, man, hey, look, we're gonna put something in your arm. You can't have no goddamn kid until goddamn whatever, yada yada yada. We having babies being born in the most toxic, narcissistic situations, and then we wonder why we have all these kids because you can't keep up with them. You can't
Yeah.
keep up with them. You got 3 or 4 kids. You can't keep up with them. You got 4 kids. Your sister got 4 kids. Your friends got 4 kids. I mean, everybody got all these kids, and maybe one of them will get the love and support they need to be a productive citizen. Because one of them probably gonna be a criminal. One of them probably gonna be a hoe. One of them probably gonna go out there and do something they shouldn't be, and they're gonna be locked away for life.
Kids are molested. Yep.
Can't keep up with them.
So like I already um I already believe that in especially in urban communities, the only way us as black people can get better
Mm-hmm.
is to slow down the reproductive rate, right?
Yeah.
Poor people at this current time should not be reproducing. I'm saying at this time. And I'm not talking about abortions, right? Because I know people want abortion. I'm not talking about abortions.
Mm-hmm.
We should be preventing, and like you said, put something in the arm, whatever you want to do, whatever the case may be, temporarily until you, like you said, obtainable goals.
Yeah.
Associate's degree. I don't know. Working
Mm-hmm.
for the city, making at
Mm-hmm.
least, you got some people they don't make $10,000 a year. How you don't make $10,000 a year?
Mm-hmm.
How you not working, but every year for every child you get like $3,000 to $4,000 in your income taxes.
Right. Right.
So, but yeah, I think the slowing down the reproductive system, and that gives people, because having a child is very time consuming,
Mm-hmm.
and that time can be used to obtain things and so forth. But also, you got to remember too, is that each child that's born, the government officials make money, right? All this money is coming into the city, all this funds that's not being accounted for.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, man, I think it's so. Listen, right? 2022 is a few days away.
Mm-hmm.
What can your supporters expect from you?
Well, in reference to tough love, man, it's I'm actually going to be opening up the lines for people to call in. We're going to be to discuss situations, topics like this, but really to promote solutions. What's the first step? How can we have a safe haven to have a conversation between men and women, between straight and gay, between this community and that community, and really come together and say, man, what's the next step? And I think that what we're going to do is kind of advocate, not only speaking about it, but saying, okay, do we meet in this city? Do we meet over here at this location to say, okay, hey, maybe we need to protest this, or maybe we need to write a letter? I think for me, um, I'm excited. I'm excited because I realize that, when you have the manosphere and the woman sphere and the red pill and the blue pill, all of these different narratives being promoted or whatever, but not a lot of solutions. There's a lot of blame going on. So I think tough love, the channel, is going to be the common denominator between those type of situations, where we just don't deflect. We hold ourselves accountable and responsible as well. And I think that's going to be an eye opener for some. It's going to be tough for some, but I think people are going to be excited that they actually level up mentally, emotionally, not just financially and spiritually, but mentally and emotionally. I think it's going to be a place where you can come and heal, and you can get the conversation that will warrant you to heal. So, yeah, man, that's what they can expect. Excitement, conversation.
And how do you want them to support you?
Um, their time, their time and their feedback to me is going to be most precious, and most valuable. And the feedback that comes you speaking, a lot of people don't realize how powerful their testimony is. People are going through things. People are parents, divorce, death. You know what I'm saying? Loss of job, loss of home. A lot of people don't realize, you know, and this is what I come to find out. It's great to put that in a comment, and people are like, yeah, I'm going through that too, or da, da, da. But to have that voice and that facial recognition to say, wow, I can now put a face with that testimony. I want to be able to provide the um, full package. I want you to be able to tell your story. People can see your face, see your expressions, your body language, your movements. I want them to hear in the tone of your voice um, that you got it out the mud. You know that you had some difficulty, but you're here now. Even if you're still going through that difficulty, I definitely think it's important for people to have a place they could go and get encouragement and be empowered. So I want to provide that platform. So that's what we pushing toward.
I think it's important, like you said, you have all these red pills, and and like even with the red pill, the definition of what it really was is changing, right? Depending on
Mhm.
who's talking about it, red
Right,
pill, blue pill, all these. But you know, we all disagree on something. But what are the topics that we can agree on,
right,
right? And
yeah,
if we do have a disagreement, it has to be just a dialogue, right? It can't
mhm.
be an argument, beefs. I'm gonna come over there. Let me ask you about that. How do you avoid YouTube beefs? Because there's a lot of YouTube beefs with other YouTubers threatening each other, crazy stuff like that. Like, how do you put yourself not in those spaces?
Um, so honestly, I um I deliberately changed the direction of my channel, and I changed the direction of my channel because it it went from generalized to now specific. And I remember having not a direct conversation with Kwame Brown, but I did a video and asked him to respond, and he responded. And he said the reason why I don't put people's name in the titles or I don't talk to people directly is because people want to promote beefs. Like they want to promote beefs, and it dawned on me that I don't want to be the guy where I start just singling out, because what happens is you single out the people that are most popular. I mean, that's I mean, because those are the people that come across your timeline. Those are the people that everybody's talking about. So of
Yeah,
course you're going to have more to critique from someone that everyone's talking about. But I want to change that. So that's why I'm kind of taking this time right now during the holidays to kind of rethink the strategy on certain things to address. And I really want people to understand. And just to answer your question, you stay out the beefs by not just saying, well, let's talk Hassan Campbell, but realizing that not putting Hassan Campbell in the mix will slow up your views. But eventually, um, the the viewership will go up. You just have to be patient.
mm,
But if you're doing it genuinely and sincerely, you know that it's a package. It's already packaged correctly. So it don't matter if you see it now or you see it a month from now or a year from now. It's still gonna hold its weight. And I believe that my videos do just that. It doesn't matter when you see it. It's gonna hold its weight. So um, the direction of my channel is just to kind of talk about other things. A lot of times people feel like because you're a black YouTuber, you have to talk about black issues or just talk about other black people. But I think it's what I'm trying to do is bigger than that.
absolutely. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna put you in what's called the hot seat. Okay,
All
hot seat. So if you
right.
thought my other question was kind of awkward and weird and kind of like want to make you go through the screen, kind of slap me up, these would definitely do it, right? So this is called the hot seat. Basically, I'm gonna ask you a question or say a statement. You respond with one word.
Okay.
Okay. So what state you don't want to live in?
Shit. Wyoming.
Heads or tails?
Heads.
Lizzo on social media.
Problem. Problem.
Family.
Daughters.
Strip club or church?
Strip club.
Strip club is two words.
Oh, you said strip club or
Yeah,
church?
or church.
Congregation.
All right. So money.
Fame.
Homeless people.
Help.
America's current state.
Poor.
YouTube or Instagram?
YouTube.
If there was a war, who would win, East Coast or West Coast?
Oh, shit. This dude trying to get me kicked off of social media. Man, shit. I gotta go to the East Coast. I go to the East Coast.
Let me ask you, what military branch you served in?
Army.
Army. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So if there was a let's say if there was a war and you had to choose who to defend you, would it be the Coast Guard or the Navy?
The Navy.
Okay. Do you love black people?
Yes.
Do you love white people?
Yes. I have a love
Okay.
for white people. Yeah.
Okay. No, do you love white people? Love for or love them is different.
This guy's. I love people in general, man. I love people in general.
Okay.
I love people in
So
general.
winter,
Cold.
summer.
Hot.
How often do you pray to white Jesus?
This dude. Bro, I'm about to click off of this interview over, motherfucker. Interview over, bro. I'm more spiritual, man. I don't know. I'm more. I believe in, like, there's a higher being. I don't know what color he is though. So I guess I can say zero. I pray to white Jesus. 0.
How to go to heaven?
Genuineness.
It's free.
Vagina is free. Vagina is free.
Even if you don't believe in it, but just I guess at the holiday spirit with the kids and so forth. Thanksgiving or Christmas?
Christmas all day.
Okay. Yeah. The meaning of your last name to you, your legacy
of my last name. Strength.
This interview.
Cool.
Okay.